So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports, guys. As you can see, we're not in our normal studio, normal setup that we have. Actually traveling right now, and I'm in the hotel, but we have a lot of takeaways that we just had to get out here. Ravens and Colts joint practice went down today, and we have a lot to talk about, some things that were heating up. Offensive weapons for the Ravens standing out, like Tez Walker, Charlie Kolar. We had a fight break out with Nate Wiggins throwing some punches and getting kicked out of practice, as well as the rookie kicker continuing to absolutely crush the football through the uprights. Some ups and downs for the offenses, a little look at preseason and much more, man. So let's go ahead and just jump in. I want to make sure you guys get all of your Ravens news content. Everything you need to know from today's practice. We had a lot of reports coming out, and we got reports from the Colts side of things, the Colts reporters, so that way it's not just a one-sided, lopsided, biased type of reporting. We want to get perspectives from all sides. So let's go ahead and kick it off with, at number one, let's talk about some standout weapons. Devontez Walker continues to shine. He is really earning the trust of Lamar Jackson. We know this guy's a 4.3 fast receiver. And coming out of North Carolina, this dude didn't get a lot of opportunities last year, but he did make some plays. Starting throughout OTAs, he was turning heads to the coaching staff, and then all of a sudden in training camp, it really rolled in there, and it's reported that he just feels more comfortable. The game is slowing down for him, which is good because he's a very fast receiver, and having his playmaking ability to stretch the field vertically is only going to open up more play action and stuff over the middle. We have Zay Flowers, who's going to be playing more in the slot this year than the tight ends. How they can really feast over the middle. We're going to talk about those guys in here in a second. But then also, having more vertical aspects for defenses to worry about, it's only going to open up more for your running game with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So another speedster, deep threat receiver with a long frame, a different type of receiver, is really good here for Devontez Walker. It's reported by Karita Parks he had back-to-back catches of at least 10 to 15 yards, continues to shine in training camp. Charlie Kolar also really shined with the absence of Isaiah Likely. Now, this is exciting because Charlie Kolar, if you guys remember, he was drafted before Isaiah Likely that year in the draft, and he was known as one of the best receiving tight ends in college football that year. However, with the emergence of Isaiah Likely and the already existence of all-pro tight end Mark Andrews, the Ravens really didn't need another receiving tight end. They needed more of a run blocker and a guy that can get in the trenches and get his hand dirty, on those first and second downs. So Charlie Kolar had to adapt his game, put on a bunch of muscle and weight in the offseason. But the good news is the receiving ability didn't go anywhere. So now you have a true dual threat tight end that can really get messy in the run game, but also it's still got those natural receiving skills, the feel to kind of sit down in the soft spots and to get open with route running. I'm really, really excited about what Charlie Kolar is doing in training camp so far, and to see it roll over into a joint practice against the Colts is great news. It's reported that he was a start today by Jonas Schaefer, said a couple of nice catch and runs, plus a touchdown in the red zone drills, and now a tough catch over the middle of the field while being leveled from behind. So the big dude's just a big, tall, strong, tough dude with great receiving skills, and that can also run block. So great news here for our Baltimore Ravens. At number two, let's talk about the offense overall. They were kind of up and down. They were better in red zone drills than they were in the other team drills. Jonas Schaefer said the first string offense scored on almost every single play early in the red zone period. Zay Flowers scored on an end around. Then right after that, Mark Andrews, nothing new. He catches touchdowns in the red zone all the time. Justice Hill scored on a screen pass. And then they all found the end zone. But then after that, it started to slow down a little bit. The offense fell into a rut. A penalty wiped out a touchdown. Man, we don't want to see that. That's why the Ravens actually hired a former referee to come break down the rules and help them try to avoid penalties, because the Ravens were actually the most penalized team in the National Football League last year, which is just absolutely unexcusable for a team that has aspirations to win a championship and prides himself on being tough, smart, and disciplined. So a blown up block also ruined another shot at the end zone, and the Colts' first string defense started to turn the tide in the last few team periods. It's reported that The offense really slowed down. Lamar Jackson was only 2 for 7 over the last 3 periods. Uncharacteristic drop by DeAndre Hopkins. Some sniffed out plays that made Lamar Jackson have to throw the football away, and good coverage on a deep shot to Rashad Bateman. However, before that, Lamar Jackson was able to roll out to the right, buy some time, and hit Rashad Bateman for a big chunk play over the middle of the field, which is good news because both Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman were not at practice yesterday. So to see them back and then also connecting on a big chunk play, that's good news. The Ravens, let's talk about the trenches and some other things here. Lamar Jackson took a coverage sack, but overall the protection was pretty good. And before we get into the trenches, actually, I want to talk about like some bad things for the Ravens, right? And talk about some of the reports from the Colts side of things. It's reported that A.D. Mitchell, one of their receivers, he's a very talented receiver. He was cooking the Ravens DBs today, like on one-on-ones. And he also beat Nate Wiggins in 7-on-7s for a big gain down the sideline. So he was cooking our DBs. Now, did he go against specifically Marlon Humphrey or Jair Alexander in one-on-ones? I don't know, but it's reported that the guys he was going against, he was cooking. And, you know, the good news, I guess, is that it was just one guy. That was, I guess, one guy that was kind of feeling himself and cooking our defensive backs. But it's also reported that our receivers almost dominated, 90% of the drills on the one-on-ones. Our receivers were beating their defensive backs. So one-on-ones, I think, is favored towards the receiver. But it's reported that A.D. Mitchell was cooking our dudes today. Had one on a 40-yard touchdown from Anthony Richardson that was the one against Nate Wiggins. But at number 3, let's talk about our trench play on both sides here. With the good news here is Mike Green for our trenches, our defensive side. Mike Green got a sack to end the Colts 2-minute drill at the end of practice. How about that, man? You need a play, 2-minute drill, you need a sack. How many times have we seen the Ravens not been able to get a pressure or a stop in those big-time moments? And to see it already showing up here in practice, it could be foreshadowing for what's to come. But Mike Green getting a sack and that to end that Colts 2-minute drill is great news, man. For our offensive line, it's reported that we were able to give Lamar Jackson a good amount of time against a very talented Colts front. We know they have Grover and they have Kwity Paye and Leatu Latu. They got a pretty solid front there, and the Ravens were able to give Lamar Jackson a good amount of time. Did take a coverage sack, but for the most part, Lamar had time, which is good news. At number 4, let's talk about kicking, because this is a big storyline. And kicking is a huge part of your offense. I know it's not the sexy stuff that people like to cover, but we know that the Ravens released Tyler Loop's competition and the undrafted free agent in Hoyland. And now Tyler Loop has really turned it on as of late. He was 6 of 6 today with a make from 28, 33, 38, 41, 44, and 55. So more consistency out of Tyler Loop hitting those kicks. Great news, man. At number 5, let's talk about Nate Wiggins actually getting kicked out of practice today. This happened on a special teams drill. 2 of the players got into it a little bit, got a little bit shovey after the whistle. Nate Wiggins didn't like that, to see his guy get shoved, even though the Ravens were involved in that as well. But he stuck up for his guy. He ran out from the bench and was swinging punches, throwing haymakers, and he got thrown out of practice. If you guys haven't seen it already, Marlon Humphrey tried to ask him about it on his Instagram Live in an interview, and Nate Wiggins just kept his mouth shut. And Kyle Hamilton said, hey, he was protecting his teammates. He was sticking up for his teammates, right? But dude got kicked out of practice today. To me, I'm not going to put a lot into that. These fights are very common. It's like two sides of it, right? You want to see your players be disciplined and not do those type of things, but then you also like to see a guy that's fiery and competitive and has that dog. And not that I want to see him throw punches or anything, but it's sometimes it feels like the Ravens were missing a little bit of that extra ferocity and tenacity that they've had in years past, where, with the Terrell Suggs and the Ed Reeds and the Ray Lewises. So to see Nate Wiggins and Jair Alexander both have that ferocity and that confidence about them, I think is really good for our secondary and our defense as a whole, because I think those two guys are going to juice up this whole team in general, man. So up and down day for the offense. First time going against another team, which is probably really refreshing, but also just to get some tape that you can go back and watch for the coaching staff on both sides. These are two teams that have been competitive. Obviously, the Ravens much more competitive than the Colts, but the Colts seem to have a good culture over there and have played pretty good football. And even when they've lost games, been competitive. So I think this was good work today for both sides. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section below, man. Just wanted to come at you guys with a quick little update of our Ravens Report series, even though we're not there in the studio. Wanted to still hop on here and talk Ravens football with you guys, man. I love y'all. Man, smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content. And if you've been enjoying these episodes of Ravens Reports, man, I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.